So, Mohammed, thanks so much for being willing to share your method section. A lot of these principles are common and fundamental ingredients of what every good method section in a systematic review needs to have. It's actually the same principles for what every good section in a quantitative paper or any research paper really needs to have. So, the best thing to do, we're probably going to go about half an hour here, is to look very closely and even do some micro edits to the text in your methods and some macro edits to restructure, because the structure is very common in these reviews. So let me go ahead and dive straight in and pull up the document here. And I just want to double check that the recording is working well. 1 second. So I'm converting from a previous meeting and just want to make sure, yeah, we're recording nicely. Okay. So here we go. I'm just getting rid of some of these underlines so we can keep track of things. It's good that you've gone and already started to model off a journal, Lancet Global Health. That's great. And indeed, often what they have here is a section of search strategy and selection criteria. So let me just outline the kind of structure you're going to have of your methods, which is really nice and clean because it's just going to follow your Prisma. So you have your search strategy, and keywords. Usually just search strategy is fine. You're going to usually have something talking about your inclusion and exclusion criteria. And then you're going to have your, if anything, data analysis and quality assessment. Or if anything, it's going to talk about your extraction. So let me get rid of this. And I'm basically going to be just moving things around. Put your figures, get in the habit of putting your figures and tables at the end of the document. It's just going to make it easier to keep things clean and tidy. So go ahead and make figures and tables. That's going to be at the end of the document. Let's get the figure down to the end. And you want to insert page breaks wherever here. Layout, page break, next page. Keep things nice and clean. And right, we're going to have figure 1, which is figure 1, Prisma flow diagram. And let's create another page here. Insert break, next page. Just want to already start organizing things like a manuscript to save you time and keep things neat and tidy. So here we go. Good. Reports have included studies you don't need, by the way. Okay. So coming back up. So first thing you did is first, and also to make things easier to edit, you've right justified. That makes it harder to spot typos. There's actually no need to do that. It does look a little better, but save it for the end. You want to keep things a little bit messy at the beginning to avoid typos. Okay, so this part is we did a systematic review in this and a framework synthesis. This is all going to be back towards your introduction, right? Because your introduction is going to specify what your what you actually did. So that goes there. Now, the very first thing you need in your search strategy is we searched X databases. We used Y keywords, right? And you're going to say this were Z papers of which K duplicates. That's all you need to say in this first component. And you usually want to say here following Prisma. That's it. No magic here. So let's take a look. So your starting point is actually here. Okay. So this is your first point. From 31 to September 7th, 2021. Following Prisma guidelines and add a site with your reference manager. The search included relevant medical subject heading terms, mesh, just to let people know what you're dealing with, keywords and word variants for migrants, refugees, detailed, great. But I would actually cite some of your nearest neighbor papers on how you operationalized it. So the in word variants for I think you had two main keywords, yes. Migrants, and COVID-19 vaccine. For migrants, we searched for existing systematic reviews and operationalized those keywords, including various permutations of asylum seekers, refugees, and what was the other one? I just deleted it a second ago.
Internally displaced persons.
Yeah, internally displaced persons. For COVID-19 vaccines, a mesh term has been created, which we employed in our search. So PubMed and Web of Science.
Then for ethnic minorities,
a full verbatim search strategy is for PubMed and Web of Science is outlined in Appendix 1. Briefly, it was, and I would even copy one search here, so that readers can copy and paste it. If they want you to put it in the appendix, that's fine. But the appendix is mainly, okay, this is how we did it in PubMed, and you see the rest in the rest. So as shown, no language restrictions were applied in the initial search. The search. So now you're talking about inclusion, exclusion criteria later on. So let's say this initial search. So now you need to go in and describe Prisma. So this initial search yielded, and the way I recommend to do this is, let me hide this floating meeting controls. And the way I recommend you do this is to split your screen, view, split, and go down, because we're going to now be describing our Prisma in the text. And the idea of describing any figure or table is you want the text to stand alone without having to look at the figure. And you want the figure to stand alone without having to look at the text. And that's when you know you've done a nice job. So everything's here. So this is really simple because we're just going to be describing the Prisma. So this initial search yielded 179 articles, from PubMed, and 87 from Web of Science. And let me just delete this out. And I really like writing this section because it's really straightforward and relatively easy to do. Hi, Salma, nice to have you join us. And say, of these, 43 records were identified as duplicates through automated duplication, detection, and hand search, leaving a total of 223 records for further screening.
266. Okay, yes, 223.
Yeah. So we've already covered it here. You could say that it's a total of 266. That's not as relevant in detail. So we've done what we said we were going to do. Now let's move down to see that how this is kind of, some of this is not placed in the right structure, right? And this is really easy for your readers to follow your methods and know exactly what you did, because you're just exactly talking about the steps you took sequentially in order. It's very linear. Instead of jumping around between eligibility, the search, and so forth. You want to make it as easy as possible for your reader to know what you did. And when you do that, it's going to give you more meaningful feedback from your reviewers, one, but it's also going to increase your likelihood of getting the paper ultimately accepted, because you don't get annoying parts where the reviewers are confused, or they think you didn't do something that you should have actually done when you actually did it, which is terribly frustrating and annoying. So, okay, inclusion and exclusion criteria, right? We applied a series of inclusion and exclusion criteria during screening and eligibility, as follows. You did actually apply. So you can see how this was actually a little bit unclear, but now we can explain it. So articles were included if, one, they were written in English. Two, they included data or estimates of migrants' access to vaccines. And what other inclusion criteria did you use? There you excluded. So this is good. This is going to be excluded. So I'm going to move this. We also excluded these and excluded these. Reasons for exclusion. Good. So we're going to document that. That's a separate paragraph talking about the numbers. So, and vaccines, we excluded commentaries out of the system. We also excluded population studies that did, or when outcomes could not be just great. Excellent. Perfect. So let me just take a look here and get stuff. We need to say if they're a quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method study.
Yes.
As an inclusion, and a qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method study. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. Is this making sense, Mohammed?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It's just going to make it a lot more linear and easy for people to follow. So let me get rid of this. So we've covered this now. We've covered this now. Here's only included peer-reviewed articles. So let's say that if they were written in English, if they were I don't know if you're saying, are you saying they were in peer-reviewed journals or they were peer-reviewed articles?
Peer-reviewed articles, because
if they were peer-reviewed articles.
Yes,
written in
because we're including that article from that weekly morbidity and mortality from CDC.
Exactly. So that's a peer-reviewed journal, but we don't necessarily know if the article is peer-reviewed. I know it's splitting hairs, but it's a level of precision you want. I think this is accurate. Let's leave it like this. So here's something confusing. This date appears to be different. No, from your date here. Here you have 1st of September, and here you say 31st of August. Which date is correct?
Okay, the one you're highlighting now is the date for search. Okay. That means the cutoff date for the search. While those ones are publications that were published from 1st of January 2020 when the COVID pandemic started.
Okay, so somebody might ask, well, how, if your search was to September set, why did you, okay, these were the date of the search. Okay, this got confusing.
Okay.
This was a little confusing because the date you did the search, but it wasn't where you actually looked at things. So covering. So I think this is correct about your search, but really what's going to matter for reviewers is this covering the dates. So let's make that even clearer. Right, and the reason is that if I'm unclear about it, your reviewers are going to be unclear. You're just going to get this ping back, and they're going to ask you to clarify it. And if we can avoid that, it's usually more often than not, it's better. Okay, so now here we go. Oh, this is important. This is also important. I think you have enough exclusion that we make a separate paragraph for exclusion. We excluded papers which were not research studies, such as commentaries or were reviews. We further excluded studies which papers were also excluded if they only describe this. Finally, we exclude studies. Okay, great. Okay, so now we want to talk about the numbers. Okay, this screening. Okay, so screening based on title and abstract excluded 108 studies, leaving 115 for eligibility. Of these, 85 were excluded. because 49 were not studies, were not research studies. 26 did not report outcomes pertaining to vaccine access, and 2, 8. So you see, Mohammed, it's just straightforward. We're just describing Prisma now. 8 did not report data about migrants. And finally, 2 were systematic reviews and were excluded. This is going to raise the question, these systematic reviews, just to clarify that you're not repeating an existing systematic review. So I would actually specify, to avoid that potential criticism, you're going to clarify this in your introduction anyway. I think you want to talk in your introduction, and I already put it up here, right, in your value add section. Talk about existing systematic reviews and why they aren't adequate. This is going to make it very clear for your readers why this study needs to be done. Okay, and perfect. So now this is all done. So this is really good. We've come through, we've covered your Prisma. This left a final 30 articles in the final systematic review sample for data analysis and quality assessment. Great.
Sorry, just a quick question. Quick question. Yes, for some of the studies excluded, there is an overlap. So some studies might have 2 exclusion criteria. For instance, it might not report outcome of interest and population of interest at the same time. So
I think the best way to deal with that is you either say, this, you could put a star in the figure and say, for exclusion, when multiple reasons for exclusion were included, you included them all, or you only listed one of the reasons you only listed the main reason for exclusion. That's fine, as long as it's clear, because you want to check the numbers add up. So 51, and there you've got 34. Yeah, so these add up. So this is fine. Note, some articles had multiple reasons for inclusion. For brevity, only the main one is included.
Exclusion.
Right. Add multiple. Yeah. Thank you, Mohammed. Yeah. Add multiple reasons for exclusion. For brevity, only the main one. So again, when any doubts about that, just make it clear to resolve any potential doubts in the minds of your readers. Okay. So now we're done with our Prisma. Let's go to our data analysis and quality assessment. Abstracts. Right. This comes earlier. So, right. You see this is an earlier point here. So, was performed and reviewed independently by 2 authors. Any conflicts were resolved by consensus. It can be nice if you have conflicts to list the numbers, but that's okay. So let's talk about this later for the extraction. I thought you removed duplicates with Zotero, Mohammed.
No, I imported them into the Covidence software. I think it was way more easier. It detected them. Okay,
excellent. Or through automated by Covidence version 2.0, and add a citation to this. I'm just going to put here add cite to help you remember. And following Prisma guidelines, add cite, and I think we say, figure 1 further describes the process of inclusion and exclusion. So we introduce figure 1 somewhere. This is going to help readers know where to put the figure. Okay. We extracted main outcomes of interest, main study parameters into a summary Excel table, including So we're just saying what you extracted. And I'm just varying things a little bit. Quality was assessed for the quantitative studies. Were they were all cross-sectional studies, Mohammed?
Except two that were.
Yeah, so let's just say the quantitative studies, because we're going to come later in the results. Later, when you come to the results, the first thing you're going to do in results is you're going to describe, your first paragraph is going to describe kind of the details and components of your 30 articles. By the way, this is, you can see why it's annoying having the non-left justification, because it gets kind of goofy. So that's going to be your first paragraph. And then you're going to have your structure of your results, which is going to be your theme or whatever you describe as your structure. We'll come back to results, and we'll probably do with another person in the group a live editing session on this. So quality was assessed for the, I think let's specify this. Did you assess quality? Good. So what I'm doing here is I'm keeping parallel structure, right? For qualitative studies, this. So for quantitative studies, this. Quantitative studies, quality was assessed. And see, this is kind of keeping related concepts together. So that point in the elements training video, quality was assessed using an adapted version of this. So I'm getting this closer to where quality is in the sentence. Based on the following study dimensions, based on, and because there's just three, based on study dimensions. So just three, don't really need a list of sample selection. For quality, so exactly. So you see the parallel structure. That just keeps things easy, but parallel structure helps you see things that might be missing. So these dimensions here, you didn't describe on these, but say such as X and Y. And we need citations of this.
Okay.
Same thing here. And I don't think you need to make this an acronym. If you can avoid an acronym, avoid an acronym. Even this, I don't really like as an acronym. Unless you have to, but I would rather not. It just risks losing people. He said it here, ethnic minority, migrant populations. You can go either way. I like to avoid acronyms where you can avoid it. Okay. This review, good point. This review is registered here, up here. Following Prisma. The review is registered and on what date? And you can, and you can add the site. Nice. Okay. This is looking good, Mohammed. I think this is nearly there. Data extracted included this. We already said a little bit of this. We extracted the main into a summary Excel table. Yeah, this is a good point. Since there was considerable methodological and clinical heterogeneity across study populations, designs, and endpoints in the review studies, we did not perform a meta-analysis. And funding source, and sometimes you'll have your funding source and ethical approval. And you can include this, no ethics review was required as the study involved only secondary analysis of studies. There's no funding source for the study. Great. This here, I would just say merge this into this one paragraph. So let me just go ahead and do that now. And then we'll be done. Then your methods will be done, including this. Additionally, we extracted data on the authors, country of studies, so forth. We further extracted And I don't think we need this. As well as any specific information on for accessing the. I don't think this is not hugely important to detail. Great. And Mohammed, I think your methods is now done. This looks fantastic. Let's just take a quick, what I encourage you to do is take a quick last read through it. But just to say, in the ballpark of our word count for methods, this is right where you want to be. There you go, 700 words. Nice. So it's going to keep you in a target for your paper. Your paper, you know, you're targeting about 3,000 words. So that's good. It gives you plenty of room for your introduction, results, and conclusion, right? If you can imagine, if your introduction was 700 words, you're halfway through your article space through the methods, which is right on target. It's clear, easy to follow because it's got a nice structure, and that structure just follows Prisma. We search these data, right? Our topic sentences are here. We search these databases and register a review. The search included the following words, and here's how we operationalized it. And we said this later. This is why you go back over it. Oh, no, that's fine. We can leave that there in the initial search because you apply it later. This initial search yielded this, getting for further screening. Now you explain what you did, what you included, what you excluded, that you resolved this by, and this is why you don't want to write justify because there was a spacing error. Screening based was this. You can tell this here is passive voice, right? But that's okay. We are limiting our passive voice. So it's fine. But in this, we make that exception because this is about screening, and that makes it very clear what this paragraph is about. Screening, and this just describes how you're getting down to the final sample. So this is all pretty straightforward. Main extraction. Great. And what you can see again, remember that test I said in our writing, can you follow what happened just by looking at the first words? Yeah, we searched this. The search included this. Full verbatim search is here that we report here. And you go through. So you can actually follow this method section really nicely just looking at this quickly. And that's how quickly your reviewers are going to be going through this section to make it very clear. So right here, we did some inclusion. Here we did some exclusion. Nice to follow. Okay, any questions? I hope this is now straightforward and the rest of you feel like very confident being able to write up your method sections as well. Yeah, Mohammed, questions?
I just dropped something on the in the chat box.
Okay, let me look. I'm just going to save this because otherwise I'm going to always save your document and send it back to you. So let me come back, get the controls back. Here we go in this chat. Should we document dates throughout our work? From Rehab. Yeah, Rehab, exactly. So where you see those dates documented, that you want to put that in. And what's this one here you sent, Mohammed?
It's the guide I initially used, but the Lancet guide for reporting the systematic reviews. So
okay.
I thought maybe,
yeah, I mean, and that's fine. And that's good. I'm glad you did that. Let's take a look at this. You know, some journals are going to have variations, methods. Exactly. So, oh, that's in the summary. Method, search strategy, selection criteria. Exactly. But often Lancet is going to be publishing more with, is going to be publishing some different things with a lot of meta-analyses. So I wouldn't worry about it. And I'm glad you exactly see that theirs is kind of structured for doing meta-analyses. I think these subheadings that I've sent are fine. I like because the criteria for exclusion, I like having this be a separate section generally. There's nothing wrong with following this. I actually think what we're using is a little bit clearer. And you'll see that in a range of different published systematic review studies. They often have those different components. I won't go through those now, but your methods here is essentially done, Mohammed.
Okay.
So I think you can run with that and go straight into the results and use that structure for your results to make it as easy to write as the methods here is. So, Salma, just with you here, do you feel confident that you can do this on yours? Having seen this?
Yeah, I can attempt it. I feel a bit more easy about attempting it.
Excellent, excellent. And you will see that in the Kajabi course, there's actually a checklist for writing up your methods that's going to make sure you have all these essential components. And Mohammed, that overlaps with the article that you sent very helpfully. All those essential components are there, and it's going to make sure you have all of that before going too far.